get yourself a hot or cold drink, whichever is appropriate, and let's take this journey. From archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar, it's making the headlines. Why not? We're going to touch on it. So once again, welcome on board, welcome on board, welcome on board, welcome on board.
Archie on Starr Radio. Nobody does it better.
Okay, now let's crack on. Let me bring you the quote for the day. The quote for the day says, the travel updates wherever you might be. Just stay tuned. Don't touch the dial. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
irange.co.uk. Looking for a new way to stay refreshed and hydrated? Look no further than iRange Hydration Drink. iRange is perfect for any situation where you need a little pick-me-up. It's low in calories and has a delicious orange flavor that you will love. So don't wait any longer. Grab a can of iRange today and start enjoying the refreshing. Buy online at irange.co.uk.
Sunday Adéyẹmọ tí gbogbo ẹ̀ mọ̀ sí Sunday Ìgbòho àkọ́kọ́ bá jọ ọmọ Ìbàdàn tó bá ń gbé kó wọ́n máa pè ní bàbá Ìbàdàn wọ́n lè máa pè ní àpè ní Ìbàdàn so ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀ tó bá ń gbé lóde kejì tó bá jọ ọmọ mi ó kọ̀ ọ̀dún tó ti wáyìn náà máa fi pè níbi tó ń gbé ẹ̀mí náà jẹ́ kẹ́kẹ́ tó kópa nínú ogun Mọdákẹ́kẹ́ àti Ifẹ̀ so ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn tó bá gbọ́ sórí ogun yẹn bá gbọ́ gbogbo pàtó mo kó mẹ́rin ọkùnrin mẹ́rin ogun bọ̀bọ̀ yẹn nígbà ogun ọ máa ń jẹ́ kí ẹlòmíràn wí ọkùnrin ni akíkanjú ọkùnrin ni gbogbo wàhálà Ládọjà àtàwọn bàbá dídí búmbàdàn náà gbogbo àwọn tí wàhálà yẹn sojú wọ́n fẹ́ impeach Ládọjà wọ́n fẹ́ yẹ Ládọjà ń pò wọ́n fẹ́ gbàjọba lọ wọ́n fẹ́ yẹ Ládọjà jẹ nǹkan kan tèmi dẹ̀ dúró tì ń gbà yẹn gbogbo àwọn tó rí pa tí mo kó láti pé kán mọ́ rí Ládọjà yẹn jẹ́ ń gbà yẹn sùtẹ́lẹ̀ mi bá rí mi rí wọn pé ọkùnrin mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dọ́gbọ̀n nìyẹn bí wọ́n ṣe bọ́ta ṣe pọ̀ tó Ọlọ́run ṣẹ́gun wọn fún èròǹgbà mi lórí ìgbésẹ̀ àwọn Fúlàní yẹn ni pé ẹnu Yorùbá gbọ́dọ̀ kò tí wọ́n bá mọ̀ pé wọ́n fẹ́ ká bá Fúlàní jà káwọn bàbá wa gbogbo àwọn ọba wa gbogbo àwọn bàbá wa wọ́n ṣáájú kàn pè wá sí mítì kàn wọ́n dẹ̀ fún wa pé tó àwọn ọmọ yìí o kí ròyìn dé sì gbé kí gbogbo ayé rí pé tó àwọn ni wọ́n sọ pé tó ká kojú wọn gbogbo ibi tí yàrá ti fẹ́ jẹ Yorùbá ká fèsì ibẹ̀ Ọlọ́run mọ̀mọ̀ mú wa agbára mélòó wà làwọn Fúlàní wà ní wọn ò tó ń tọ́ ń pera wọn wọ́n fọlọ́ búra fún yín wọn ò tó ń tọ́ ń pera wọn Ọlọ́run bá Olódùmarè ń gbọ́ ṣùgbọ́n tá a bá ní nǹkan tí àwa náà ní lọ́dọ̀ àwọn bàtà jogún náà bàbá ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí lò ń sìn ká bọ́ta wọ́n sọ wá lóko míì táwọn bàbá bá mọ̀ pé yà ń jẹ àwọn Yorùbá kàn pe gbogbo wa sí mítìn kàn pe Ọọ̀ni kàn pa Láàfin kàn pa àwọn bàbá Àwùjalẹ̀ gbogbo àwọn ọba yẹn tó bá jókòó kàn wá pè wá kàn invite gbogbo wa wá Ọlọ́run bá lágbára èmi ò tó nǹkan kan àwọn tó tún lágbára jù wá lọ pọ̀ tó pọ̀ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ kàn pe gbogbo ọjọ́ so tí èsì tó máa pè wọ́n jọ tó bá mọ̀ pé lè kan ru wa náà ipá náà sì lè ní pátá lè kọ́ pè wá káwájọ jókòó káwo bá ṣe fẹ́ ṣe tí ò ní sí nǹkan kan ẹ̀mí gbọ̀n kankan mọ́ ẹlòmíì bá ń gbọ́ gbòó ni kò kú rí mi rí ẹlòmíì á ní ó lè kọ̀máǹdì mọ́ ó lójú àwọn tí mo ṣe lójú wọn rí ẹlòmíì á ló lè ṣe báyìí ẹlòmíì tí bá ṣèkan lójú ẹ yóò sọ 10 ṣé nǹkan tí mo sọ yìí ẹlòmíì á sì ní ẹnu ni so àwọn tí wàá mọ sọ pé nu nìyẹn èmi mọ bẹ lọ́n kí nǹkan dẹ̀mí àti wọn pọ̀ wọn lè rí pé kì í sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀nà ṣùgbọ́n pé kẹ́nìkan wá lóhun dìde ṣe èmi ìwọ ni mi Sunday Igboho mo wá bọ́ ọ̀tá o àbá nígbà tí wọ́n bá fi dọ̀tún la Buhari ó pàṣẹ láti Àbújá sọ́jà tí ó ka mọ́ta nkìdé yóò ju tó gun Boko Haram tó ń jẹ́ ilẹ̀ Haúsá lọ wọn ò ríra wọn bẹ̀ yẹn tá a bá dẹ́rẹ̀ wò nísìn ẹ̀ rí i pé wọ́n yìí máa lọ́wọ́ gbogbo táwọn ń ṣe ilẹ̀ Haúsá tó ń mú jẹ yẹn tá a bá dẹ́rẹ̀ wò nísìn wọ́n yìí máa lọ́wọ́ torí pé àwọn Yorùbá kan náà ni ó lọ bá wọn lọ́hùn tí wọ́n sọ pé àwọn ọmọ bí wọ́n ṣe wọ́n ṣe nu pa ẹ̀ làwọn ọmọ ayákìlá làwọn ọmọ bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n yẹn ta la parí ta ìyá yóò la parí ìbíjà yẹn làlá fẹ́ gbé ó tó fi gba sùúrù nìyẹn ó gbọgbọ́n kì í ṣe nǹkan tí yẹn kàn kágbádá ọrùn tó kó funpa tó kó lóńdè tó gbé bọ̀kọ́rùn tó lọ́fẹ́ lọ pàdé Fúlàní o bí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ wọ́n sọ di nǹkan mímọ́ yẹn lọ àfi kéèyàn jókòó kó lọ́wọ́ àwọn bàbá yẹn táwọn bàbá yẹn ó ṣèwé kán sáyìn fún wa pé àwa la ṣèwé fún yín pé ìyà gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ Yorùbá gbogbo bíkíbi tí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá dé ẹ lọ ṣàbò lórí ẹ̀pọ̀ àwọn ọmọ tẹ bá mọ̀ ń bẹ kẹ́ ṣàbò àwọn ọmọ ń bẹ ńlẹ̀ bàbá mi àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá ń bẹ ńlẹ̀ tí wọn ò ní sá rárá àwọn ọmọ tẹ́ ń wò tán jókòó wọ̀nyí wọ́n yìí sọ ọmọ wọn ìṣẹ́ran rírọ̀ but ọgbọgbọ́n àlèkè sọ pé ẹ mọ lọ sí Ìkirè bí tí wọ́n ti ń kidnap Yorùbá ẹ mọ lọ Òṣogbo ẹ mọ lọ Ìlọrin ẹ mọ lọ sí yóò di nǹkan mímu wa lọ́wọ́ tó bá ti dá wọn lójú pé àwọn làwọn bí wa àwọn sì làwọn bàbá àwọn ni bàbá wa lẹ̀ Yorùbá ń bí wọ́n sì ṣe bàbá burúkú wọ́n dẹ̀ sọ̀dàlẹ̀ bàbá tí fi àjọ mọ́ káwọn náà bá gbádá rẹ̀ kàn ó tì wá síwájú bàbá lọ bàbá nílọ káwọn bá gbádá rẹ̀ kàn ó ní ká nìṣó níbẹ̀ bàbá lọ bàbá nílọ bá wọn gángan ò ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ torí táwọn bàbá àkànnà ń bẹ tó ń gbà ń bẹ àwọn oníṣẹ́ jù báyìí lọ bọ̀ táwọn bá jẹ́ bàbá dáadáa tí wọ́n dẹ̀ fẹ́ fi àtúbọ̀tán rí lẹ̀ fáwọn ọmọ wọn kò yẹ kí wọ́n gbàbọ̀dẹ̀ fún Yorùbá kò yẹ kí wọ́n pè wá ká bọ́ ta ni káwọn dẹ̀ dúró tì wá pé ó yẹ nìṣó níbẹ̀.
On to come and say that, well, the student has faked their results. How many people have done so, and where are they at the moment? Any equity government bans 3-day marathon kissing event. Well, 3-day marathon kissing event. That's quite an interesting one. We'll be looking at that as well. Who knows? Maybe people will fall in luck there, and then maybe fall into a relationship. What about that? Okay, so no more Nigeria news direct publisher Samuel Ibiyemi. Okay, and FCC PC against planned POS operators service charge increase. And telecoms invest in Nigeria hits $75.6 billion. Lawma set to seal homes without waste bins. How are they going to do that? And the resident doctors issue fresh notice to the federal government. Yesterday or the day before, the federal government was saying that, or the president was saying that, you know what, we're going to come out with some venture or some policy that's going to lure people, even those outside, to come home and come and work there. I was like, really? Even those homes, you've not been able to cater for them. Now, talk less those who are outside, who are seeing whatever they are doing, though it's difficult, yet they are able to make some money and save some money and come and send money down, putting up buildings and stuff like that there. Attack on Ogun RCCG Church, assault on religious freedom in Nigeria. That's what the Confederation of Churches of Nigeria is saying. That we'll be telling you more about that. We'll break bottlenecks hindering completion of Africa's gas project. That's what Tinubu is saying as well. Now, widow allegedly beaten by 3 youth in a Boeing. Why? And then some other stories as well. Tensions as Amotekon immigration operatives exchange gunfire in Osun State. We'll be talking more about all that. Now, Amotekon, their modus operate, okay, mode of operation, okay? Now, what has happened to it? Are they allowed to carry arms? And why are they clashing with the, what do you call them? immigration or the customs officers there. We'll be looking into all that in a moment. So wherever you are, don't you go away. It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Ganduje dollar bribery video not doctored. Forensic analysis is saying. So we'll see. So Ganduje, all right then. Now moving on to other parts of Africa as well. Meta officially launches Threads, the new social network competing with Twitter. Have you registered? The Tunisian target African migrants, dozens expelled. That's where witnesses are saying. And toxic gas leak in South Africa has killed 16 people, including 3 children. Those are some of the stories. New malaria vaccine cuts mortality rate, according to World Health Organization. According to the World Organization, the new malaria vaccine is safe and effective and cuts mortality rate. By what percentage? We will tell you more about that. And Kenya postpones reopening of border with Somalia. Why? In South Africa, South Africa's court dismisses Zuma's case. We'll be telling you more about all that in a moment. Now, moving on straight to some other stories making the rounds in Ghana as well. It's a case of who the cat fits. I never said Osla is an LGBTQ practitioner. Mutala Muhammad. Yeah. Okay. Accusation and counter accusation there. I'll be telling you more about that. And media should be able to call out vote bias. NDC youth organizer is saying there. And 5.3 billion Ghana cedis invested in free SHS by end of 2021, not 7.62 billion. Minister clarifies. Okay, well, that's what they are saying. Let's see what is going to happen on that front. And it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. All right. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to some other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Well, we started the program with some information coming through that was saying that the Wagner boss Prigozhin is in Russia. Belarus ruler says Alexander Lukashenko says Prigozhin, who led a short-lived mutiny in Russia, is in St. Petersburg. Now, what is he doing there? And why should the Belarusian leader also come, Alexander Lukashenko, come out to come and make that statement? Where was it that people were asking, or some people have spotted him in Russia and were thinking, why is he becoming defiant to the Russian leader? What do you think, and how do you read into all that? Now, 4 have been killed as Russian strike hits Lviv apartments. Among the dead are 21-year-old women and a 95-year-old who had survived the Second World War but couldn't survive this war. My goodness. On giant Shell wants cutting production dangerous. The world's need for fossil fuel is desperate, Shell's chief executive has said. And suspect gas leak leaves 16 dead in South Africa, as I did say earlier on. And India-Pakistan gaming love story ends in jail. Those are some of the stories making the rounds there. Now coming straight to the UK front as well. Groping MP Chris Pincher should be suspended for 8 weeks. And someone saying that will, actually call for a by-election. Okay? So is that going to be or it's not going to be? Now speaking skills, key to breaking class barriers, Starmer is saying the Labour leader wants a class ceiling, is holding children back, but won't commit to free school meals for all. Now, free school meals should be means-tested. There are some families who can afford it. Why do you give them free school meals? But there are some families that are impoverished, such that they need that help. Let that be given to them. What about that? Now, charities stress Captain Tom's money not being probed. NHS charities together says 38 million raised by Captain Tom Moore is not under any investigation. Yesterday there were stories coming from there. And the breaking news coming through as well. Several injured after car crashes into primary school. Police say they were called to a report. A car crashed into a primary school building in Wimbledon. Was it deliberate? Or what is it? And cannabis worth 130 million seized in record crackdown. More than 1,000 have been arrested, are made during the UK's most significant ever crackdown on organized crime. This and a lot more going to be coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well. Ill health. Akera Dolo to return home soon, says Commissioner. And then Buhari failed woefully fighting corruption. Tinubu will be worse. Some alleged corrupt politicians, business people hiding ill-gotten wealth in France. Real Estate Transparency International is saying, and Tinubu not indicted over fortified or forfeited $460,000. Bamidele tells Tribunal. And then my bishop himself, Bishop Adesina, good morning to you. It's morning, Starr Radio UK. It is very sunny here. Oh my. Well, somehow, I mean, here, when the sun comes out, you see how people behave. My goodness, my bishop. But we are celebrating Nigeria Army at 160 today. Interesting. 160 years of what? The fact that people are losing their lives, and then, but we say the new military chiefs that have been appointed might bring about new, era. Well, we're going to be seeing some impact, as was discussed on the Niger Voices. But don't you worry at all. Let's take a music break, and Yomi is going to be joining us. He's going to give you a review of what was discussed yesterday, and then we'll move on from there. Now, let's enjoy this song from. It says Maximum Praise from Shadrach Mensah. Enjoy it, and I'll be with you.
We say, hey! Thine is the kingdom and power, the glory forever and ever. Unto you I sing hallelujah. Amen. Thine is the kingdom and power, the glory forever and ever. Unto you I sing hallelujah. Amen. One more time and say, thine is the kingdom and power, the glory forever and ever. Unto you I sing hallelujah.
This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio UK.
To you I sing hallelujah. Amen. Glory be to the Lord in a higher. Come on, everybody. One more time, and say, glory be to the Lord in a higher.
This is Starr Radio UK. Starr Radio UK.
One more time, say. Hey.
You are listening to Starr Radio. Radio for the people, vibe.
In your car,
At work.
at home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio. Are you ready to turn it up?
Well, Shadrach Yosin, Shadrach Mensa. I know Shadrach Yosin back in Ghana, but it's Shadrach Mensa doing his own thing. Singing praise to the Almighty God for another opportunity. But wherever you are, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Of course, if Nigeria didn't happen to you overnight and you are still alive, well and kicking, why wouldn't you give thanks to the Almighty God? My, oh my, oh my. Are you tuning into the best radio station in the whole wide world? And on the best program, of course, with the best people, of course. Starr Radio UK. And I'm glad that I have got the best people on earth listening to us as well. What about that? It's not gone well. 6 minutes past 11. So we're going to be going to our North London studios, where we got our own, the White Lion himself, ready to fire on all cylinders this morning. But don't you worry, we'll bring you lots of music during the course of the program. But for now, let me say good morning to you, Yummy.
Good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers from around the world, and welcome once again to the Starr Radio UK network. It is the Thursday edition, and it is a very beautiful day as usual. I've been listening to you quietly behind the scene. Good morning to you, Frank, all the way in Ghana, and all the other presenters on the cross. But tonight is all about the property hour. But in the next few minutes and hour, we'll be discussing everything update from Nigeria. I'll come back again to you in the studio, Mr. Archie.
Yes, how are you doing and how is the family?
Well, the family are doing very well. We're always grateful. That is the most important thing. When the family are okay, then it also gives us the joy to be here as well. I hope the other families are doing very well as well across board, especially when it comes to Nigeria, because so many families are always asking whether there is a cost on them. It is not a cost. It is just that things has to be put in place to make sure that they have a better standard of living.
Well, are we going to get that? Bishop Adesina, good morning once again. It's a beautiful song all over there. Yes. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. We try to sample some songs and then bring it, Well. But wherever you are, listeners, it is Starr Radio, okay? Before we go to the picture behind Ms. Olayomi Koiki, it takes us straight to the discussions that were held yesterday, that the new security chiefs that have been appointed, are they able to restore security back to Nigeria? Yomi, how were the discussions yesterday, and what were some of the points that people also put across pertaining to this topic that was discussed on Niger Voices?
I think as many of our listeners last night finally agree that as much as the new president and the commander-in-chief of army staff, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with his new service chiefs, there's a little bit of certainty that they have a lot of work in their hands. As the Nigerian army is celebrating 160 years. 160 years. There's quite of these notion that just maybe the Nigerian army will be able to curtail the insecurity. Remember that Buhari came on board, with the mantle that there will be security in Nigeria. But 8 years after Buhari left, we are still talking about as many of the insecurity. So last night on the Niger Voices, for those of you that missed it, as many of us went back and asked the question, what could make things turn around? The most important part is many of those of our callers disagree with Yerima, the former governor of Borno State, that said, and we see if we can get the audio. The engineers are working on that. He actually went further to indicate that the new president Bola Ahmed Tinubu should pardon the bandits, so-called, and also give them amnesty. Some of our listeners from the continent were not really pleased with such, and the question is, Bola Tinubu should not give any room to such. But what was the actual way that Yerima put this together? This is what Yerima said to Bola Tinubu after their meeting.
They have enough capacity in Nigeria security. I have confidence in them that they have capacity with the political will and support of government to handle this matter. So dialogue is part of governance. You cannot compare state actions with the federal government action. The federal government has enough human and material resources to handle any crisis that may come up in the society. State governments have limited funds and resources. So if they negotiate and they don't have the capacity to reintegrate these people back to society, you will not have a solution to the problem. Like I said, Niger Delta, it was not Niger Delta states that negotiated with the militants. It was the federal government that came up with a robust program that attracted their attention. Like I said, this issue is just poverty and ignorance. Educate them, reintegrate them to the society, provide solution for their poverty issues. You see that all this problem will be over.
So that is Yerima, and as many of our listeners and those that managed to get through the phone line were not happy that Bola Tinubu should negotiate, because there's no way you can negotiate with terrorists. They will always come back. And some other asked the question, can we see whether they are real Nigerians? Because if we're even negotiating, are these Nigerians, or they are again the foreigners that came in during the tenure of the former president Muhammadu Buhari?
Okay, listeners, that has been some of the discussions that took place yesterday on the Niger Voices. That program comes your way every Wednesday at 18 hours. That is BST, that British summertime, or call it 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Okay then, yes. So now let's behind Yomi is a group of people buried.
Christians that have been killed because we have some data of those Christians. I'll come back again to you in the studio.
Yeah, we'll be bringing that to you. But somebody just asked me a question here. He says that, well, if with the new service chiefs, now should the tribunal ruling go against Tinubu? Are they going to appoint new service chiefs? And are they going to tell them to resign as that these new service chiefs have commanded them to resign? And what is going to be the repercussion, especially looking at what the military is saying, that they are giving 101% support to the president?
Well, that will be subject to if the election tribunal comes back and declare, that 25th February election as either to be a rerun or moving it to the next person in position. Remember that it's not one person, that is asking these petition to look into the result. We're talking about from also Atiku to Peter Obi. And that literally means that nobody knows what is going to be the conclusion. We can speculate, we can talk about it, but it seems that the final closure of such of the election tribunal is now coming into the last part of it. Let's just give you the presidential tribunal highlights so far for the benefit of our listeners. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Vice President Kasim Shettima, and the All Progressive Congress have closed their defense in the joint petition filed by the Labour Party and its candidate Peter Obi. The trio are respondent in the petition by the Labour Party and Obi, challenging their victory in the February 2025 presidential election. The respondent, through their team of lawyers, led by Olayomi Koiki, the senior advocate of Nigeria for Tinubu and Shetima, and Lateef Fagbemi, senior advocate of Nigeria for the APC, closed their defense after tendering several documents and calling on witnesses to testify in aid of their counter-argument against issues raised by the petition. Despite the objection by the petition, the 5-man panel of the court presided over by Haruna Tesima admitted the document as evidence and marked them as exhibit. Senator Bamidele testified. The Senate Majority Leader, Senator Michael Bamidele, testified as well yesterday. During the proceeding, the president called Bamidele as a witness. The lawmaker testimony was taken by the court. Other document tender during yesterday's proceeding include a letter from the Nigerian police to the United States Embassy dated 3rd of February 2003, a letter from the United States Embassy to Nigeria dated 4th of February 2003, a U.S. and visa and immigration document between 2011 and 2021. And also Bamidele testified. During the proceeding, the president called again Bamidele after their sole witness. Under the cross-examination counsel by the APC, the senior advocate, the witness affirmed that the president was not charged with any criminal offense by American court. This was about the widely speculated court affidavit from the United States District Court for the North District of Illinois, Eastern Division of the Civil, that fortified the proceeding against Tinubu $460,000. So you can see that as many of the documents has been put together, but the question is, will the outcome change the service chief? The first thing is, will the tribunal make history for the first time in Nigeria ever since Shehu Shagari? And it seems that we'll all have to wait patiently for whatever the outcome. But the Presidential Election Tribunal, APC, have now closed their case without calling any witnesses as a Senate leader testified for President Bola Tinubu.
All right, listeners, Starr ready, okay? So if you have any questions, just put it through and we're going to read them as well. And someone is also, before we come to the other stories, it says the assertion by Yerima talking about Yar'Adua's pardoning or giving amnesty to those who were causing trouble in Niger Delta area. Now, the president is of the view that if Yerima is saying that the president should go on to pardon all these people and educate them because they think that it's because they are not well educated or well exposed, that is making them behave that way. Now, how are they going? Because these are people who are now like somebody going to taste blood or a vampire tastes blood and think, oh, this is good. They're never going to stop taking blood because you cannot give them anything else that will surpass that blood. You know what I mean?
Well, you're quite right. How do you negotiate with, people that doesn't have a base? Like I said, this has been attempted and tried before, but it failed. And the reason why it failed is because, like you said, when a vampire tastes the blood is something that wants to be continued. How do we then be able to trace them and, bring them into where, they're either brought into the court of law or they're probably killed along the line? We have now gone back and asked the question again and again. The new service chiefs have a lot of work to do, because when I was talking about some of the killings and the headlines from the affected people in Nigeria, whether they are Christians, whether they are Muslims, whether they are non-Muslims or Christians, these are some of the headlines in the last couple of days and week. According to the tablet, Christians killed daily in Nigeria, says the bishop. Since the start of 2022, there have been 140 attacks on Christians in Benue State alone, resulting to 591 deaths. Why more Christians killed in Nigeria than anywhere else combined? This is coming from the Catholic era. Allahu Akbar was shouted in a terrorist that killed people in Spain, but it seems in Nigeria, a lot of these is not brought into. 50,000 Christians killed by Nigerian Islamic extremists, according to the Vatican. This was in April this year. According to the report, Messiah Christians in Nigeria issued the Inter-Society over the past 14 years. At least 52,000 Nigerian Christians have been killed. Let's talk about the one that happened on Friday in Ogun State. RCCG, Redeemed Christian Church of God, pastor killed. Waiting police talk about the killing of the Redeemed Christian Church. This is coming from, again, the BBC. Crocs now. Report claimed that just as the former President Muhammadu Buhari was leaving the office, he was also given some kind of a farewell package, according to the Crooks North. Report indicate that 700 Christians were killed in the month of May as a farewell gift to the former President Muhammadu Buhari. A leading Nigerian human rights organization has published a report claiming that largely Muslim Fulani herdsmen killed about 700 Christians in a May as a farewell gift to former President Muhammadu Buhari. So the question is, how do we deal with this menace that is creating havoc? That is what a lot of Nigerians are talking about with the new service chiefs. Whether the new service chief will be changed when the election tribunal comes back, the first thing is they are celebrating 160 years of the Nigerian military, and the question is, how can they protect many Nigerians across the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, including the FCT?
Wow, listeners, that is the big question there. You can be celebrating 2,000 years, but what impact are you making now? People are crying. People are not able to go about their duties, and people's lives are being taken. And what? To what end? But well, let's see. As we say here, there's a new sheriff in town. Maybe he's cracking the whip, and maybe that will cause them to act differently. Come up with maybe a new idea, a new plan to be able to combat this menace that is going on in Nigeria. But listeners, it's Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, interestingly, this story talking about Transparency International, that is saying that ill-gotten wealth of, Nigerian politicians who have got ill-gotten wealth are now investing all those money buying properties in France. So they're not bringing it to the UK, because now UK, if you buy any property, you have to justify how you came by that money, and therefore, it could be you could forfeit it or it could be confiscated. So I think they don't want to come this way again. They're targeting France now. Now, what else did Transparency International say there, Yomi?
Well, you're quite right. Bola Ahmed Tinubu flew to Paris for the global summit, from there to London, back to Nigeria. But the report that more than 2/3 of the corporate-owned real estate in France is anonymously held, from corrupt money. In a new debt analysis find unacceptable the level of money laundering risk in the French real estate, despite transparency measure. Non-compliance, incomplete data, loopholes are creating a brick wall for attempt to follow the flows of dirty money into the French real estate, according to the new report by Transparency International France. Transparency International and Anti-Corruption Data Collective, ACDC, 6 years after France began collecting information on the beneficial owners of companies, almost 1/3 of legal entities in France have failed to comply, partly as a consequently more than 7.33 million parcels of land, which could contain one or multiple properties. In France, all these are held without nobody knowing exactly who owns them. This effectively create a dead end for effort to follow the flow of white-collar criminal. I was looking at one of the former governor of Kwara State, known as Lawal. After he died in 2006 here in London, he was returned back to Nigeria, where he was buried in Kwara State. About almost $2.8 million was traced to his account in Cayman's Island. That's about almost 3-point-something billion naira in exchange rate as at the time. These are money that is meant for projects in the particular state, and as of today, the state with the 16 local governments still remain corrupt. The Cayman Island is less than 70,000. So as many Nigerians stealing this money are taking it to these countries, while these countries are becoming much more stronger and powerful, while millions of Nigerians continue to live in abject poverty. So we hope that the new president will be able to deal with, with some of this corrupt flow of money, as we saw him traveling to Paris for the global summit that also include engagement with other African leaders.
Wow, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK updates from Nigeria with Mr. Olayomi Koiki coming your way. But a few other stories making the rounds this morning. We're going to be touching on it. But wherever you are, stay tuned and don't touch the dial whilst we bring you everything that you need to know. Now, yesterday we did talk about, I don't know whether you chanced on that, so let me just, we did talk about this, was it the day before yesterday? Yesterday, JAM results where the JAM boss or this one have come out to say that the student have printed something that was fake. It was now they said that there's an app that Nigerians are using to create this fake results. Now, are they still holding this student Oge Nsima? Oge Nsima, that's I think that's her name. That the result that she has is a fake one still? Yummy.
Well, it seems that the House of Reps have now asked the UTME forgery order a probe and, like you said, a fraudulent app developer risk dismissal. What do we know so far? The House of Representatives yesterday resolved to investigate the alleged forgery of the UTME result by Ejikeme Mesoma. The House passes the resolution during the plenary following the adoption of a motion sponsored by the People's Democratic Party lawmaker from Rivers State, Abiata Awaji. The embattled 19-year-old from Anambra State, Ejikeme, had been in the news following allegation of the UTME score forgery by the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board. Ejikeme claimed to have scored 362 as against 249 recorded by JAM. The question then is that with the new technology that we have in place, a lot of times the new AI, we might have to be very careful because it seems that the technology is now becoming so advanced that sometimes, Mr. Archie, they might say that you are in Nigeria eating jollof rice while you are still here in London. The question then is, the lawmakers have now asked JAM to rescind their 3 years ban imposed on the people pending the outcome of the investigation.
Well, interesting. I mean, if they are rescinding that decision that they should wait pending the investigation, then I think it's something good, so that at least let her have her day in court, or let her be questioned and let her tell you exactly what has happened. But when it comes to AI, I mean, here we're talking about the fact that if children are writing, or when you give them homework to do, assignments to do at home, then some of them use AI and they come out. Pow! So how robust is our system? Because I know Nigeria, Ghana, and all that West Africa, they knew WAEC to be doing, I mean, to be the regulator of exams there. But what do you think, Yummy? Are we robust enough to come back certain, or now we're going to be getting lots of fake results coming through?
Well, I could give you a bit of background because I have someone that was able to do a cross-checking. What that means is that, your school cert can be cross-checked here by some organization that the UK government has put in front. So you pay about £50 or 50 to 60, depending on what you're asking them to to translate back. So that literally means that if you have a West African examination result and you want them to give you the equivalent of that here in UK, that could be done. You will pay a certain amount of money. But how do we verify, that a particular result is authentic is the question, especially with the new technology that is also changing, result as, is being alleged while investigation is still ongoing with these, 19-year-old in Anambra State. We can say, that, the technology is becoming much advanced, and that literally means that Nigeria needs to invest as well, in the training to verify. But most important thing, it seems that, JAM is saying that these young girls scored 246. How she has been able to transform that to over 300 and something is another question mark. This has generated a lot of conversation, but like we say, it seems also that sometimes inside job does occur, because we know that in Nigeria, the corruption level means that, like I've stated, you can easily change your real identity by dropping your age and get a new passport from Abuja on that. So many Nigerians have used that out of the country, and somebody was still able to use it as at last year, December, where he was changing over his date of birth with the same name. And the question then is, how do we then authenticate a genuine identity if you are dropping your age for whatever reasons.
Well, you can drop your age, but when the age starts affecting you, you see that you say you are 19 years, and meanwhile you are 40, and then you go on for a bit, and your waist and your leg cannot carry you, then you know that you've arrived. But well, listen, this is all Starr Radio UK, 11:29. Let's go back to Yomi for the rest of the stories making the rounds. Over to you, sir.
Well, so much headline in Nigeria, explosion from APC, Ganduje appeals judgment, file stay of execution. Ganduje dollar bribery video are not doctored. I remember that Ganduje was, Babariga that kept as much dollar from a contractor while he has been video without knowing of that. Telecom investment eats $76 billion with the 5G subscription now, according to the NCC. There's a lot of flood around the world, but Nigeria is also as much not prepared for the disruptions of lives and property. Flood alert. States have now ordered evacuation as the federal government issues disaster warning. According to the headline, the state government have now directed residents living around floodplains and erosion spots to vacate these danger zones before it is too late. The advisory is coming against the backdrop of the heavy rain predicted for the month of July in some states, even as the federal government also sounded a warning to citizens living near the natural waterways, floodplains, and erosion spots. In a statement that was issued yesterday by the National Emergency Management Agency, warned that out of the 36 states, 14 states and 31 communities might witness heavy rainfall that could lead to flooding between the July 4th and July 8th. So that means we are still about 48 hours. So we are saying that to those that are within those states to please try as much as possible. Do we have the state? Yes, I can give you some of the community. Latanga, Shadam in Plateau State, Sulamilia, Tudan, Wada in Kano, Shagari, Goroyo, Silima in Sokoto, Okwa in Delta State, Kachi in Kaduna State, Upanikang in Akwa Ibom, Mubi, Damsa, Song, Mayo, Balwa, Jimata in Yola in Adamawa State, and Kastina, Jibia, Kaita, Bidawa, all in Kastina. Others include Wara, Yawala and Gadua in Kebbi, Shinkafi and Goni in Zamfara State, Bria in Borno State, Garawa in Jigawa, Jeba, Kwara State, Mashugwa in Kotangora in Niger State, according to the flood warning. So for those of you in those particular areas, you are advised to move to a better location for your own safety. Let's talk about some of the more other headlines and take you straight to the social media. Buhari failed woefully fighting corruption. Tinubu will be worse. Mr. Buhari regime was rocked by several corruption. We've never seen as much corruption in the history of Nigeria because Buhari, that we thought was the saint, ended up to be the most corrupt government in Nigeria, and that literally means that more Nigerians have suffered for the corruption that took place during the former President Muhammadu Buhari. Let's go into that headline. According to Babafemi Badejo, a professor of political science and international relations, has said that although the ex-president Muhammadu Buhari failed woefully in the fight against corruption, a successor, President Bola Tinubu, will be worse in handling the anti-graft war. Why is that? Mr. Badejo explained that with his assessment of Mr. Tinubu in the last month of his government, he is not prepared to tackle corruption, though he might perform far better than his predecessor, Mr. Buhari, in the areas of economy. It is in my own view that the former President Muhammadu Buhari failed woefully on the issue of anti-corruption. He did start by wanting to implement the United Nations anti-corruption strategy and went further to appoint a committee. The committee did nothing till today. On President Tinubu, it is too early to give a conclusion, but I can say that from what he has done in the 1 month, he will do by far better than Buhari, but not on the corruption. This was said during the first inaugural lecture of the Christland University, Abeokuta, in Ogun State. So we will continue to monitor that, as we are continuing to say. Nigerian soldier no longer using the 1970 and the 1980 weapons to fight Boko Haram. This is actually coming from the chief, the army chief. As we've been saying, that it seems that they are now trying to do everything possibly best to secure Nigeria. We no longer rely on the 1970 and the 1980 equipment to fight the battle of the 2023. The Nigerian army has now procured various modern equipment and also has internal built ones. So it seems that the Nigerian army have all these. Why then have they not been able to use these in the course of the time until Buhari left? Does it mean that Buhari also compromised the security of Nigeria? Because if the new chief of army is saying that we have this, we have that, and yet as many Nigerians have been killed, the chief of army staff, Taoreed Lagbaja, says the Nigerian army is relying on a modern equipment in its fight against insurgency, terrorism, banditry, and the other crimes as well. Mr. Lagbaja said this in Ibadan. And it seems that we can now say that it's because of the activities that is being put, because since the last 48 hours, I have been monitoring a lot of military vehicles heading into Ibadan, but I've got a call back this morning that there's nothing to be concerned, there's nothing to be worried. It's just that the Nigerian military are celebrating their 160 years because the amount of equipment moved into the military barracks is something to be concerned. But like I said, we have now been told, because I got a call from our reporter on the ground, that it is got to do with the military preparation that is going on. So we wait and see how this new equipment will be used to secure as many Nigerians. He added, we have asked research and development to build some of this equipment we used to import from abroad. If you go to our command in Kaduna, you will see what the mechanic engineers are doing. They are building vehicles. Very soon, we'll be exporting. I'm not too sure about that, but we'll probably leave that to the Nigerian army. We'll be exporting some to the neighboring countries. Let's hope so, because whatever is going to make things work, according to those that believe in Nigeria, because as somebody like me, individually and personally, I am too sure to say that indigenous people should be given the right to self-determination. I'm going to go straight to the engagement again by the leader of the Yoruba self-determination movement, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, speaking to the Yoruba yesterday again to say that those that are trying to infiltrate machinery to fight the government of Bola Tinubu has nothing to do with the Yoruba people that are asking for the right to self-determination. Let's take a look about that in just about a minute or so before going to the social media to hear what he had to say.
And so on. We don't have enough time to examine. Well, we have our own method for finding out things. We have our own intelligence system, but we don't have time to wait because we don't know whether it is true or not true at this point. So what I have done this afternoon is that I've sent out an audio message to all Yoruba that some people are reported to be planning this. Two things, a number of things I want to say about that. First, we don't know whether it is true or not true. Secondly, we who are here fighting for the Yoruba nation are not part of it. Just as we were not part of the season of radio station.
And that is, Professor Adebanji Akintoye. And we move swiftly now to the social media. There is a trending of Nnamdi Kanu. There is a sit-at-home that has been put out again, by Simon Ekpa and the Biafra government in exile regarding Nnamdi Kanu. But yesterday, one of those that believe that Nnamdi Kanu should be released is Hassan Stan Sabo. This is what he had to say.
One major priority area in the southeast, which I think will cool off a great deal of nerves, is for us to bring out Kanu. that gentleman. Pull him out. Stop this incarceration. I know some of his pronouncements or maybe lines of actions and so on were offensive to the Nigerian state, and there was a need maybe to take certain actions. But you see, Nigeria itself is a family. That's my picture of Nigeria. When parts of the family feel offended, as a father, as parents, you sit the gentleman down, you sit the child down, and try to find out what are the problems. How do I help you? You don't like the Christmas tree we bought for you? Okay, we'll get you a new one. Will that solve the problem? You don't like this meal? Can we fix another meal for you? Can we start talking with Kano? Can we start talking with IPOP? Can we start talking with other groups? I think a conversation with some of these teams would go a long way in addressing the problem. We mustn't at all times apply the stick. Bring in some carrot at times. And let's see a carrot and stick diplomacy at play. Okay?
Well, let's see if the new government of President Bola Tinubu will be looking into all these. Like I said, there is a lot of videos that is circulating on the social media that there is a lot of gunshot going on in the southeast. But as Simon Ekpa said yesterday, I listened to him, that these are being put together to just bring the bad image of the IPOP that have requested that the only way they can confirm to the government of the world that sitting at home means that they disagree with the Nigerian federal government of Bola Tinubu and Nigeria as a whole. But it seems that one of the senators, Ifeanyi Ubah, is also perpetrating by using the name of IPOP to bring out those that are killing innocent Nigerians and trying to stigmatize that on the real IPOP that are fighting a non-violent movement as they've been doing as well. Also, I can confirm that Shetima has arrived in Ibadan. He was one time a student of University of Ibadan, and that means that the activities for the Nigerian military has already started. As we speak right now, I can see the Nigerian Air Force have landed, and in front of me, I can see the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria coming out. I'm not too sure what the airport looks like, because we know that each of these airports are not in the standard, as we will always say, but it seems that it can still have the Vice President aircraft touching down, and that literally means that the event that is now ongoing will continue as planned by the Nigerian Army. Apart from that, the other news from the social media, it's all about the trending of Nnamdi Kanu. Banana Island is trending. Lamidi Apapa is trending. He has been a case between the obedient, because as many of those that support Peter Obi believe that Lamidi Apapa is working for Bola Tinubu as against the real Labour Party. RCCG is trending. We know that that could be trending for so many reasons. One of their churches was attacked by the Fulani terrorists on Friday. And likewise, Alex Oti is trending. Keyamo is trending. Keyamo name was included in the EU final statement as someone that was perpetrating different messages during the election of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the February 25th. That is how far I can go. I'll come now to you in the studio, and you can tell that it seems that the question is, Tinubu must sit and talk to IPOP, the Yorubas, the Hausa, and those, as he stated, that I will listen to you even if your views are different from mine. And I have evidence that indicated that, say, even Tinubu himself in London, before he went back to Nigeria in 1999, stated clearly that he does not believe in one Nigeria. But the music has turned around, as they say. The music is now reggae music, where he's now the president. Probably maybe he can't say that anymore now, but he needs to sit and talk to everyone that is asking for their right to self-determination.
Wow, listeners, is it Starr Radio UK? I mean, where will you get all this from? Except on Starr, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, with Miss Olayomi Koiki in our North London studio, and I'm Archie here. Let me acknowledge a couple of people before we run up the first part of the program. No, Koya, and it says, well done, Koiki, Akugon Media of Yoruba land. Okay, I hope that I pronounced it well. And Comfort, Olugunja says that, Starr Radio UK, I joined you to laugh about Nigeria exporting vehicles. She's talking about the fact that they said they're going to export military vehicles. Who knows? Comfort, don't say that. Don't laugh. It's serious. Maybe you don't know. They got a factory, they are manufacturing. Who knows? Yeah? You'll be there one day. I'll be telling you, Comfort, come and see the vehicles. Well. Listeners, it's Starr Radio UK.
As long as it doesn't break down.
Well, we keep fingers and everything.
We might end up be paying more compensation to those African countries that we export it to.
Yomi.
Because it took us 8 years, according to Dr. FOLAYEMI, the former Minister of Steel and the former governor, that the arbitration between the federal government on Ajaokuta lasted 8 years in London, and it could not get anything done, trying to bring Ajaokuta back again.
My goodness. Well, we still have hope, don't we? We have hope. That's why we are still there. Well. Let's start ready. Anthony Adeji said he cannot laugh that he's laughing with the emoji like that.
Shegun Oye says, no be carrot only we go bring. Sugar cane for the bandit and terrorists. Stupid politician. Mr. Fab said, poor state, poor infrastructure. And Ken Diduroja says, salute to Starr Radio UK.
Oh. Thank you very much to every one of you. This is where Yomi will have to bring the updates so that we can look at other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. But don't you worry, tomorrow we'll be looking into more stories making the rounds. And as we do here, if you have, maybe you are somewhere and you pick on some intel or some information you want to share with us, you bring it through. We'll be looking at it. If the ones that we need to do some more inquiry or check on it, we'll do that. But we'd love you to be sharing your take with us as you've done today. Yomi, before you go.
Stay tuned as Archie take you to the rest of the segment. I'll be back, like you said, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Friday. Thank God it's Friday, where we get paid for those that are working and getting paid on Friday. And the rest of us, I'll say, Starr Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Yomi. Wow. Listeners, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And it's now gone 14 minutes to the top of the hour. Take a quick break and I'll bring you some lovely tune. Small axe, wherever you are just a small axe that is hewing down that big trouble